Guys, I just got into 10 medical schools, and today I'm going to share mine. And today I'm gonna share mine.
I've had enough. I don't believe a single one of your lies. Not a single letter. But which medical schools?
Yale, Columbia, Duke, Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Mayo Clinic in Arizona, Northwestern, the University of Chicago, Case Western, the University of Arizona, and the University of Iowa.
How much did you pay them?
Oh, I didn't pay anything. I just...
How much?
Nothing. Is there a problem?
No problem. Except you're a big fat liar and I don't like you and I don't trust you and I don't believe anything you say. But anyway, my son is 2 years old. He wants to get into medical school too. What are your tips?
Oh, well, I'll get to that. But today what we're gonna be talking about are the highs and lows of what was a crazy application cycle. I applied to 30 schools, got 19 interview invites, attended 14 interviews, and got 10 acceptances. As y'all can probably guess, the details of a year-long process can get a little bit jumbled, so while I was going through it, I took detailed notes and reflections about what I was feeling and when I was feeling it. This is so important because when the stakes are high and you take an L, it's easy to tell yourself, oh, it's not that big of a deal, I was fine, I took it like a champ, when in reality, you could have been hurting for a while. And on the other side of that, if you get an acceptance, it's worth remembering how great that felt, especially at a time when you were stressed and struggling with the application cycle. And speaking of acceptances, I can't tell y'all how relieved I felt after I got my first call. Let me set the scene for y'all. I just interviewed on Friday and Monday in a back-to-back, and now it's Monday night. I'm trying to get ready for an exam Tuesday morning. I hadn't studied for it at all, and I had to pull an all-nighter just to study for the exam, which I don't recommend, of course, but I did what I had to do. So it's Tuesday morning, I take the exam, walk out at about 9:15. You know, the exam went fine, but I'm feeling a little bit dead inside. I'm walking back to my car, just desperate to get home, walking through a parking garage, and I get a phone call. Now, initially, I don't think anything of it because I don't recognize the area code, and I've been getting tons of spam calls from around the country, especially because I turned off my spam call blocker. So every day for the last at least week, I had been getting random calls from numbers all over the country. So I'm feeling, like I said, pretty dead, pretty tired, just wanting to get home, walking through that parking garage. And the reason I mentioned parking garage is because the service there is terrible. So when I see that call and I pick up, I don't know who it is. And you can tell where this is going at this point. I hear the words accepted, just barely. I barely make it out. And as soon as I realized what was going on, my energy levels went from 0 to 100. I was revitalized. I felt so good, so relieved. This was the University of Chicago that ended up calling me. And towards the end of the call, they tell me I also got a pretty generous scholarship. And at that point, I'm just losing my mind. In my head, my worst case scenario after all of the stress is that I'm going to the University of Chicago with a good scholarship at a school that I love, in a city that I love. I was just gassed. And later that day, I got 2 more calls, one from Case Western and one from Iowa, both acceptance calls. I mean, y'all can imagine 3 acceptance calls in a row with no rejections yet. I was feeling pretty good about myself. That didn't last forever though, because about like a week and a half later, I got an email from NYU saying you got rejected. And this was post-interview. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I knew I was getting rejected to NYU. It was a really awful interview day for me. It's nothing to do with NYU. They had a beautifully run interview and great people. I love the school. I had some stuff going on my own end. Stuff went down. It was just a me problem, and the interview day went terribly. It's honestly a whole movie in itself. It's a very interesting story, so I don't want to take too much away from this video because that story is a little bit long. I'll tell it some other time. But I saw that rejection coming, and I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. I was disappointed, of course, but I had plenty of time to process that R was coming, so I wasn't worried. Anyway, speaking of L's I took during the application cycle, NYU wasn't the only school that I got rejected to right after the interview. Not right after as in the next day, I mean without any waitlist or anything. The other 2 schools were Johns Hopkins and UCLA. When it comes to those 2 schools, I thought I had a decent shot. I thought the interviews went well, but I'm not surprised that I got rejected. And that's not me being negative. I'm just saying the students that I met there were just brilliant, and I knew the competition was tough. The one school that I was waitlisted at and didn't hear back from, as in I would have gotten rejected eventually, was WashU. Now, by the time I had interviewed at WashU, I'd already fallen in love with other schools like Mayo and Yale, Columbia, so I wasn't as stressed about that school. Of course, it would have been nice to get in, but I didn't really see myself going there. Again, amazing school, I loved it. It just wasn't as much for me, so I wasn't really bummed about that one too much. Now, you might have noticed that the math here just doesn't add up. If I had 19 interview invites and 10 acceptances, how could I only have 4 rejections? Well, the reason for that is because I didn't go to every interview that I was invited to. And part of that has to do with time, part of it has to do with money, and another part is that I didn't want to take a spot if I didn't have to, so I just removed myself, I declined those interviews and removed myself from the interview list. The 5 schools that I got interview invitations to but didn't interview at were the University of Rochester, the Ohio State University, Baylor, UCSD, and the University of Virginia. But anyway, let's get back to my acceptance reactions. So after finishing all my interviews, I had a chance to compare all the schools to each other, and I gotta tell y'all, I seriously fell in love with the Mayo Clinic. It was everything I was looking for in a school. Obviously the name is there, but more importantly, I just wanted somewhere where I could be myself, learn in a healthy environment, and enjoy my life along the way. Obviously, there are so many schools where you can find all those things, and I honestly think that I would be happy attending any of the schools that I was accepted to. That being said, we all do have our preferences, and I can't explain why I had so much fun at Mayo other than it was just a vibe, if that makes any sense. One of the most common pieces of advice that I heard from students in medical school and had done well in their application process was that once you find that school you want to go to, you'll know. So I was skeptical of that at first and I didn't fully believe it until it happened to me at Mayo, and I'm a firm believer in it now. I really do believe that once you know, you really do know. During my interview at Mayo, they told us over and over again that the needs of the patient come first. That's Mayo's philosophy, that's what they live by. And I tuned that out at first because everyone says good things about their school. Some choose to focus on research or whatever it might be, but they always have the best things to say about themselves. Naturally, I don't blame them for that. What really drove that point home though, and what made me actually believe it, was that during our interviewer's tour of the hospital, we had more than one patient come up to us and express how much they loved being treated at the Mayo Clinic, how much appreciation they had for the staff, and how much they loved it there. Hearing how much love the patients and families had for the Mayo Clinic was so powerful because at the end of the day, the Mayo Clinic's a hospital. People are there when they're feeling low, when they're sick. Generally, it's not really a happy time. And to hear all that positivity coming from patients in an unscripted environment, it blew me away, and it makes me proud to be a Mayo student until now. One other huge positive about the Mayo Clinic in Arizona for me was that it's only a couple hours away from my family, and I get to see them often this way, and family's a really big deal to me, so that pretty much sealed the deal. But while the Mayo Clinic is awesome, so are all the other schools that I got accepted to. So why didn't I go there? Let's do a rapid fire round and I'll go through them all real quick. Yale. Love the freedom they give to their students to customize their own learning experience. Didn't love the location, which is New Haven. Columbia. Love the Ivy League education, world-class faculty, and networking opportunities. Didn't love the first year student housing. First years live in an old, small dorm with communal bathrooms and one shared kitchen throughout the entire building. Not really for me. Duke. Love the brilliant research minds there, and the Duke med students are awesome. Didn't love the location. Durham is a beautiful city, but it's just not really for me right now. Northwestern. Love their world-class hospital. It's one of the best in the country, and learning there would be a privilege. Didn't love the financial situation. I didn't get a scholarship there, and put that on top of living in Chicago, it would have been pretty tough. University of Chicago. Love the passion and diversity of both their faculty and their student body. Didn't love the med school campus, which is a little bit on the older side. Mayo Clinic in Minnesota. Loved everything about it, just like I love Mayo, Arizona. Didn't love that it was much further from my family and friends. Easy choice. Case Western. Love their administration and their med school building. Didn't love the weather in Cleveland as much. University of Iowa. I love the Iowans. They're some of the nicest people I've ever met, and Iowa is gorgeous. Didn't love the class size as much. It was a little bit big for me. The University of Arizona. I love all the faculty and staff there, and the students there are even better. You can't get me to say anything bad about the U of A. It's my home school, darn it. Now, I'm sure I don't have to point out that that list is a huge oversimplification. There's a ton of thought that went into this decision-making process, and all of those schools are so much more than what I just mentioned. Another crucial thing that I want to point out is that even though I'm one of the lucky ones when it comes to acceptances, applying to medical school is tough and you need to prepare yourself. And I'm not talking about all the work you put in to write the app or all the time and effort you spend building a strong application. Obviously, all your activities take a lot of time and effort. You have to build strong relationships if you want impactful letters of recommendation. You have to put a lot of time into your personal statement and secondary essays. You have to prepare for your interviews. All of that goes without saying. What I'm talking about in terms of the application process is not comparing yourself to others. This is inevitable, especially especially when you try to get some advice about the process and might visit an online forum only to get people flexing their 60-page resumes, 5.0 GPAs, and 200th percentile MCATs. You have to understand that you can't compare your reality, your flaws and shortcomings, and everything that comes with you as a package to whatever perfect picture people try to portray online or in person. It's just not a fair matchup for anyone, and you'll always end up feeling like you're less than. Another important thing to note is that there is always a bigger fish. No matter how good you are, there's always someone with a better story, better scores, more experience, better connections, and that's okay. Once you acknowledge this reality, you're gonna save yourself so much emotional stress about feeling that you're not good enough. Personally, the way that I choose to deal with those feelings is to take it as motivation rather than something negative. That's one of the things I like the most about interviews, is that you're around all these people who are better than you in some way. So in terms of advice, the internet can be a great place to answer basic questions, but as soon as you get what you need, get out of there. Don't fall into the trap of telling yourself that you're researching the application process when in reality you're just filling yourself with self-doubt. Be inspired by others, but focus on you, and remember that the people you meet in person or that you read about online are never going to share their failures with you. That was actually one of my biggest motivations for starting this channel. I want to show y'all what actually goes down behind the scenes. How many times you gotta fail to make it work. How we're all going through it in our own way, but we don't want to share that with others because we feel like it's gonna make us look weak. I'm here to be real with y'all and tell you what med school life is all about and what it took for me to get to this position. If you want to come along on this journey with me, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button. I'll be your backstage pass. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like, share it with your friends who want to get into medical school. I'll see y'all in the next one, and peace.